of education, and the family is looking up to them to help them to, you know, they're the hope of the family, somehow the hope of the family. So they carry a commitment. So when they finish, they complete and they get a job, they get absorbed into the industry, and they consequently help their families. It's not just one life you impact. You impact many lives, you impact a family, an entire family.
And I think that's
Yes.
obviously we're here this evening to talk about Tewa, a project that you have been involved in different ways, that you have experience of, as well. So that direct experience of why projects like that, like Tewa on Kenya's coast, are important, but also having that higher perspective of the industry in Kenya in general, and how those sorts of projects contribute to the wider picture. And we have Sussy online with us. Welcome, Sussy.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Finally.
We're all learning new skills in this first webinar.
That's great.
It is wonderful to see your face, Sussy. So Sussy, we've just been talking a little bit. We haven't got very far, but Lucy has introduced herself. So I'd like to introduce you. So you, Sussy, have been working at Tewa for 5 years now, but you have been involved in this type of work in building up young women, in training them for the hospitality industry, and working in this very dynamic and important industry in Kenya for many years. Not too many, but a few years. And, and you know, you originally, you grew up in the west of Kenya, but now you've been on the coast, really understanding the issues that young women there are facing. And of course, working with Wonder during this time that we have been working with Tewa. So Wonder, as a women's education charity that's focused on, you know, uplifting women and their families out of poverty through access to good education, to things that transform their lives, has been working with Tewa, which is a project that we've been delighted to have a focus on this last month, really to raise awareness of the needs of girls, women and girls in the area around Tewa, of the need of the students, of the amazing work that the school does, the important work that is addressing, you know, a little part of the wider picture of addressing Kenyan needs, and that we've been fundraising for. So we're delighted to have you both here to give these different perspectives. And I'd like to come to you first, Sussy, and ask you to explain a little bit what is the impact of COVID been on your students during this time, your students, young women who are living in Kilifi on Kenya's coast?
This has been a very big challenge for our girls. First, when COVID struck, it was a surprise. So everyone had to be told to go home. So when they reached home, some of them found there was nothing to eat. So the first thing that was there was hunger. People were hungry. They didn't have money, they didn't have food, and the younger people were even started suffering from malnourishment because of lack of food. And even before the COVID, you realize that the parents would go get some little work and pay school fees or get to buy some food for the children. But when COVID struck, there was a total breakdown. And even the little jobs they would do, they could not go anymore because of fear of infection. So because of that, most of the girls suffered a lot, and some decided, one of them decided, I'll take an initiative. I look for how to get money because it's too much. So when she tried to go wash some clothes for some people so that she can get some food, just food, because they were surviving on very light meal one day, a whole day, just one light meal. And so she thought, let me go and buy some, let me go and wash some clothes so that we can get some money. Some people were accepted and others were not accepted. So in the end, they were surviving like that, but it has been really hard. It was hard. So what we do is just to try to encourage them to keep looking and getting somewhere so that they can get something. Otherwise, they will be hungry all the time.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this is an important thing, I think, for people to realize, is that this hunger is not a new thing. And it also isn't something that could be simply resolved by people planting crops at this time. And I think, Susie, you can speak a bit more from your experience of this, that the hunger and malnutrition is not a new thing for these families.
Yeah, the hunger has not been, it's not a new thing, it has been there. And most of the people, there's a lot of illiteracy. So because of that, people don't know how to farm, they don't have knowledge of farming. And most of them, because of hunger, they have managed to sell most of the land so that they can buy food. But in the end, they realize they are becoming more and more weak. So in the end, they remain with very little land, and that land is not productive. They don't even have manure or anything to make it more fertile so that it can get better crop. So the food they get does not go even beyond 2 months. So after that, they rely on their father going to fish, and that fish, sometimes he gets and sometimes he doesn't get it. And most of the time when he gets that fish, he sells so that he can buy some flour for some food. Because of that, it has been really hard with the COVID on top of it.
Yeah. And of course, fishing is something, I think, in these villages that is very much a men's occupation. It isn't an income generation that's open to young women.
Yes, it's not for young women. And for that reason, the young women they are in danger because they are supposed to venture for themselves. And because of that, they end up being forced into bad life like prostitution, because their mothers or the father, the parents encourage them. They tell them, you go as long as you come back with some sugar, because we have nothing to eat in the house, and yet you are a girl. And because they don't mind their girls getting married at an early age, they don't follow up, and the girl is very insecure. And because of that, Tewa has been a rescue for some of them, because the ones who listen, they are able to go ahead and address these things, and they are able to be protected in the way from the advice they receive. Remember, their mothers got married maybe at 12 or even 13. And at 12, that person has no knowledge of advice to give anybody. So because of that, in the end, the girls end up getting into life that they don't really want to get into.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the amazing things about Tewa, is that, despite the fact that these young women are coming from, very challenging backgrounds, with very little support, with parents who can't necessarily offer much support because of their own experiences, that these girls do have that opportunity to go into something much better and to be agents of change in their communities. I mean, Lucy, Susie's told us about the very specific kind of impact of COVID on young women and their families in the area around Tewa in Kilifi. This is what we've been raising money for in the last month, but can you give us an idea of the wider impact of COVID on the hospitality industry in Kenya? Because of course, Tewa has been training young women to gain the skills, the soft skills and the hard skills to go into the tourism industry in Kilifi. It's, has been a booming industry. And now that industry is very much affected by COVID. Can you tell us a bit more about that wider impact of COVID?
So Kenya is a country that depends on tourism for revenue foreign revenue income. It's the second highest foreign currency earner, tourism. And it's mainly because of hospitality. Yeah, there are many hotels at the coast, and we get tourists, leisure tourists mainly, go to the coast, including Kilifi. Kilifi has got very beautiful hotels. But when COVID hit and there was a lockdown in the hotspots, especially the hotspots were Mombasa and Nairobi, all the hotels shut down. Tourists already, those who were here left before the flights were closed, and were left. There are a few who were left and they were left trapped in the hotel, but very few. So 80% of the workforce in the tourism industry lost their jobs. The other 20%, if they had training, especially the trained people, were sent on leave without pay, because there's no work in the hotels. Even as we speak, there is very little that is happening in the hotels. So everybody has to fend for themselves, look for alternative sources of income. Yeah, they're just left abruptly, kicked out in the cold, and they have to find alternative sources of income. So that is the situation as it is. And the more vulnerable you are, the lower skilled you are, or the more unskilled you are, the more you suffer. Those are the ones who are laid off immediately. But the ones who have got skills, like we've seen in Nairobi, those who have got skills were sent on leave without pay, but there is a promise that you can come back to the job when things turn around. So definitely having skills helps, because there's an authority in the hotel industry, especially at the coast, to rely on untrained labor. There's no charity. So if there are more trained and skilled people, those ones are a bit more secure. And that's why it's important to skill these girls, and so that they can have those skills to rely on. And even outside the COVID, outside the hotel industry, because the food industry is a reality in Kenya. When people were laid off, especially those who had skills, went online. They set up websites like in Nairobi, my students or my former students. They set up websites, shops online to sell baked goods or food or cooked food or their services. Yeah, to cater for home parties and things like that. So if you have those kind of skills, you can diversify. If you lose a job, you can diversify. You can actually employ yourself. Yeah. So at the moment, the food industry is happening in that manner. Yeah, home deliveries and in situ catering at home, and and advertising online. And there are others who have gone beyond that. They've gone beyond food, cooked food, and maybe the skills that they learned, to even selling other products, like even vegetables and fruits online. And so they advertise like a shop online, and then they deliver to homes. As people are afraid of coming out and going to the markets, now the market goes home. Yeah, these people will be fine. You take the necessary precautions. Yeah, you go to the market, you get the goods, assemble the goods, and then deliver them to the homes. Yeah, so in estates. So that's how people have diversified and managed to stay afloat. They're managing to remain afloat. Yeah, whereas we wait for things to turn around.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the really, exciting things. It was amazing to hear from you when we were preparing this, Lucy, about some of the amazing things that your students have done using the skills that they've gained at Strathmore. But I think this is also what makes Tewa, even though it's a small school, a very special place. It is the fact that you're not just teaching skills, you're also teaching soft skills. And I think, Sussy, you can tell us a bit more about that, about the additional skills that young women learn in Tewa beyond the skills in food preparation and other things that are needed for them to work in the hospitality industry in Kilifi.
Yes, Tewa offers extra skills, soft skills that help these girls a lot. Remember, when these girls come from their homes, they don't have knowledge of many things. First of all, they have not been exposed culture-wise, they have not been cultured. They don't know many things. So when they come, they interact with other girls. And these girls learn from each other. And with time, you keep trying to insist and teaching them how to relate to each other until they actually carry it home. Before you see a girl and she has very low self-esteem. She doesn't think she can go beyond. She just feels she's meant to get married and that is it. There's no point in working very hard. So when they come to Tewa, you teach them and they realize that they can even advise other people. In fact, this change has a ripple repercussion because even at home, when they go home, the parents and the siblings they start noticing some change in these girls and they say, this is the place. This Tewa is good. It's better than any other college, even though it might not have a lot of things to offer. Human heart. And the girl feels that because of the soft skills, even when I go out to do attachment, I am considered the best because of the good manners, the way I relate with people, and the confidence that I try to put up. Because remember, even though when they do attachment, they do it still in Kilifi or Mombasa County, where you find also the other girls from around who don't have those soft skills. So they are always praised because of that. And they always ask them, where were you trained? You are very different from the other guys. Tell us the secret. And one time I went to assess one girl in a very prominent hotel in Serena Hotel. And the supervisor told me, look, your girls work very well. They do not take shortcuts. They are very respectful. Unlike the other students from very good colleges, what is your secret? And we realized that and the girl was very proud and she told me, apart from what I learned in Tewa, I have been given more responsibilities. I'm even given the keys to the rooms because of that. So Tewa offers what other colleges don't offer. There's something more, and that's what makes people very happy when they have trained there.
Yeah, and I think what you said, what you've said about self-esteem is something I think, here in the UK, we're very conscious of how young women don't necessarily have good self-esteem. But I think we are aware of the fact that we have rights. And I think, Susie, you have some more that you can say about, the challenges that young women have in recognizing the fact that they have rights in the first place, and the role of or the way that young women are treated within their families, within their villages. If you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. The girls, when they are born, they're not taken to school generally. That is the normal thing, that a girl it needs to get married. And as soon as you reach the age of 9, 10, 12, you are ready for marriage. And I have a student who told me one day, when I reached 12, I was told, don't even ask for money because you can get it by yourself. And you're not supposed to go to school. And if you go to a classroom, you'll find maybe two girls and 15 boys. So of course you realize this girl feels very unsafe. And sometimes there are rape cases. And the girl ends up not continuing with her school because now she has to be a mother and she has to take care of the child. And that is against her wish. And they are not protected by their own parents. If their own parents can let them do whatever they want, they don't have even someone to help them, to advise them. One time I went to look for girls in secondary school. And when we entered that school, we were told there are few girls here, but so we explained that we wanted to be advertising for the girls to come to Tewa so that they can be lifted up because the girl child has been neglected in Kilifi County. And then the teacher, who was a male teacher, said, you are the one who is coming to change over the life in Kilifi. So I'm not going to let you in, and I'm not going to let you talk to the girls, because they are not going to be under us if you make them learn. So it was very shocking, and we left and we just wondered. And the same teachers would make a mess of the girls, and the parents will not follow it up, because they know, after all, once you are of age, nothing is for you. So it's something that is very hard to tackle. In fact, Tewa has really done a lot.
Yeah. And I think this is if you're in a situation where even school teachers are abusing young girls and preventing them from completing your education, this is a very challenging situation. But I also, there are stories of hope. And I'd like you, because I think, you've spoken a lot about the challenges of, children becoming parents and then raising their own children and, not being able to do it very well. I think it would be a struggle for any of us to become a parent at such a young age and to do it well. Changing people's minds when they don't have much of an insight is a big challenge, but you have some really nice examples of how girls have gone to Tewa, and because of the success that they have had, the example that they've given, have changed people's opinions of the opportunities for young women. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please, Sussy?
Yes, I'll tell you one story. Okay, let's see. One is that we usually advertise in the village to get the girls. So one girl came to Tewa, and the cousin, the uncle said, "I'll never send my child to Tewa or to any other place. What's the point?" And then this girl kept on coming to school. Then as she would go back home, she would practice what she has learned in school: hygiene, cleanliness, making the place with good conditions for the other people to enjoy, relation with the other people and all that, until the uncle thought, oh, this is good. If my girl goes there, that is going to be very nice. So when the girl managed to complete her high school, he sent the girl there. And the girl has done Tewa, she has finished. Now she went for attachment. And after that, she was called back to go and work. And the parents are very happy. They say, now she says, I'll educate my sister. And once she says she's educating the sister, the parents have no say. She has even tried to make them understand the importance of educating a girl child. So that is a family that has begun from very far, but it is coming up. Yeah. Then I have another story of a mentee of mine that when she was completing Form 4, her father died suddenly, a road accident, and he died. So the mother was left with 4 children, and she didn't know what to do. And when this girl finished, she said, I need to go to college. And the mother said, but I don't have money. And then she said, but I have heard there's a college in Kilifi that can admit me. And the mother said, but where's the money? So she said, let's go and try. We can just find out and see what is there. The mother works in a textile shop, factory just nearby. And she spends so much time there that she doesn't even have time to look after the children. So when she comes home, she's very tired. She doesn't eat. She's completely thin. So this girl came to Tewa. So when she brought the daughter, the principal told her, your daughter can do 2 years. And she said, no, I cannot. I can't manage. Even 1 year, I cannot. And then she was encouraged. She was told, okay, you can start off with 1 year and then we see how it goes. And then she says, even 1 year, I do not have enough money. I have very little and I still have my children at home. Every day I have to work for them to eat. One of them needs to go to secondary school and she has not gone yet. So she was asked if she can just leave the girl, and then now the college will look for a well-wisher to pay her fees. So the girl did very well the first year, and then she was told, okay, you can still continue and the next year. Then the parent was like, still, I still have very little. Then she still was helped by a well-wisher, a donor who managed to pay her fees, and she completed. When she completed, she managed to get a job in Nairobi out of Kilifi County, and that was an eye-opener for her. She was very happy. She said, I go and see what I can do for my parents, my mother now and my siblings. So she went and she started working. And she has been working as a chef in a private home. And every month she has been sending money home. Right now, as we speak, she has managed to improve the house where they live. Before it was, you would see outside. Now the house has been plastered a little bit. It looks much better. And the mother says, now, very soon, I'm going to retire from that factory because I cannot bear it anymore because my daughter is supporting me. So that has been a very successful story.
Yeah, and it's an amazing thing of seeing how you know, that well-wisher who paid for her scholarship has actually invested in the future of a whole family. Because I think also when we spoke about some of these stories, this girl is paying for her younger siblings also for their education as well, isn't she? And I mean, that's just such an amazing thing that you're investing not just in one person, but in a whole set of siblings, little by little, and that her mother is using those tailoring skills that she's gained in the factory to start her own small business, thanks to her daughter. So it's a whole family that's been transformed thanks to that well-wisher. Lucy, I mean, I think also you have some hope for us, because I mean, I think it's very easy to think, you know, Tewa is training young women to enter the tourism, the hospitality industry. This has been so badly affected by COVID. You know, surely this isn't the right choice to continue for the future. But I think you have a different perspective on that, and why it is still very much worth training young women to enter this industry even now.
Yes, tourism is not dead, it's just taken a pause. Hospitality and tourism, just a break. It's bound to come back. In the Kenyan market, there are a number of hotels that are in the development pipeline. In fact, I looked them up. There are 27 international branded hotels that in 2019 started preparing to come into this market. So it was like in the next 4 years up to 2023, the 27 branded hotels were going to come between Nairobi and usually the coast. Okay, they may not actually complete coming in 2023. We may push it to 2024 or 2025. But in the development, it is not something that can be paused because it's long-term investment. So they are very big brands. There are lots of opportunities that are on the way. And as I said before, the over-reliance of the local brands, the local hotel brands, over-rely on untrained workforce. The few hotels that are already in the market, the branded hotels, have given them a challenge because they do not employ untrained people. They employ trained personnel. And therefore, the quality of service is much higher. The standard of service is higher. So they've raised the bar and they've raised that competition. And that creates, of course, a ripple effect, a demand in the market for trained people. So the future is bright for hospitality in the Kenyan landscape, the Kenyan market. In fact, Kenya is a hub because of its positioning somehow. It's like an entry to Africa, and quite a huge population that depends on like Kenya as a hub. And that it was moving, in fact, it was moving at a top speed before COVID. COVID has really put us on break, but we are hoping it's not going to be a long-term break. But also, we've been seeing that, especially in my school, that there are students who want to become entrepreneurs. So, and there are many entrepreneurial opportunities because food is always in season. Yes. And restaurants opening up, blocks of offices coming up, there are lots of opportunities. So entrepreneurship is the other angle that we can give to this training so that we're not over-reliant on employment, although the demand for employment, the future is bright. It is also important to train people to be self-reliant and also to become employers. I keep telling my students, you don't just look at them, look to be employed, look to employ. Yeah, become an employer, a small entrepreneur, start a small business, and then employ other people. And then, we expand the market. So this is the next big thing. And the other thing is also tooling them, for example, to use these mobile skills, internet skills, digital skills, because digital marketing is very, very good. In Kenya, the mobile phone is everything. Everybody has a smartphone, and they use the mobile phone to advertise their businesses, small businesses, big businesses. You don't even have to have a computer or a laptop or a tablet. A mobile phone is sufficient, and you can get to your market. So those are some of the things that I think the next big thing, to tool them, digital skills for marketing and entrepreneurial skills, so that they are able to set up their own businesses. Even, they can even choose. They can choose either employment, or to employ themselves.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those really exciting things. I mean, it's something that we as Wonder are really excited to work with Tewa on developing, on making sure that there really is this entrepreneurship element that all of the young women leave with. Because of course it just gives women more options in their lives going forwards. But I think it's something that has already been happening. And Sussy, you have a story about your student who has set up the donut shop, not just mandazi, but amazing donuts. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Sussy, what she has achieved during this time?
Yes, to look for money during COVID time was difficult. And she, after her attachment, she didn't have anything to do. But she thought, I have skills. I have been in Tewa. I can do something. So she decided to start making donuts just outside her house. Like you call it a kiosk, something like that. So she said, selling donuts. Okay, she's not the only one selling donuts, but there's something special about her donuts. First, she's very clean. The standard she has put is very good. She appears in a good uniform, clean, and then she has a sign saying, delicious donuts, welcome. It's just the one you need. Then you realize that the middle class people will go for this because it's cheap. It's cheaper than bread. So in the end, she has many people coming to buy. And after that, she's able to even get someone else to help her because there are many people who need donuts for breakfast. And she has to wake up very early in order to prepare those donuts. And she doesn't mind because she says, this is my career. So if I can't make anything out of it, what will I do with it? So that's how she has been trying to survive and even help the siblings around. She has not stayed idle, and she's very happy doing that. And people come to her because also because of the social skills, the smile alone brings the people to come and buy her things. So it has been wonderful.
And it is wonderful to see that impact of a girl who came to Tewa with low self-esteem, like most young women, going on to have a business after overcoming the challenges of COVID and then becoming an employer herself. And I think that's the other amazing thing of Tewa. It's not just about being able to take leadership in your career. And of course, being able to make those decisions is something that all the support that you gain in the school helps you to be able to make those important decisions. But it's also about all of your other life decisions, about negotiating with your parents, about considering your relationships, your how you're going to have a safe future for those around you, which makes the school so special. At this stage, I think we're going to see if there are any questions, because we've been talking for a bit longer than I'd wanted us to, but I love talking to you, so I hope people are enjoying listening. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. We would love to take them. If anyone wants to ask, I can see them. So yeah, one of the questions we're getting in is about the value of mentoring. And both of you are super mentors with a lot of experience. Lucy, maybe you'd like to kind of mention about the difference that you think mentoring makes to young women and why it's such an important part of their education.
Yes. Well, coming from high school, when students come from high school, they usually are a bit timid, as Susie has said. They usually a bit with low esteem, low self-esteem, because it's a bigger society you're bringing them into. So through mentoring, you help them to achieve that self-esteem, that confidence, little by little, cultivate those values, those good values that Susie has talked about, and following them through is like you walk with them. You walk with them through the time they're in college, and by walking with them, they look up to you and they see they can fly. And eventually, actually, they do fly. In fact, I can say some of my students amaze me. They fly so high, I don't think I could ever have achieved the heights they have achieved. It is wonderful to see. But from where they came, I remember one of my mentees in the university here, I think she just realized how important mentoring was. And the mentoring frequency was once a month. She wanted to be mentored every week. I had to negotiate with her. Let's do it 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, because I didn't even have that much time. But she was so eager to learn because she realized what it was doing to her. In fact, it was transformed her. I don't know whether it is mentoring, but she had the inner qualities. It's just bringing them out, bringing out her potential and affirming her, validating her. She became a leader of a club in the university, and she graduated with top honors with the Chancellor's Award. It blew my mind away. That lady, that woman just came out of herself. So you can see that, and I have seen through time that they come to you to sort out their problems, to help them, to hold their hand, to walk with them. And if you do that, you spend the time, it is extra time, it is unpaid time. Nobody pays you for mentoring. You do it out of the love of your heart. You do it and you walk with them and you help them to thrive and to fly.
And it's such a beautiful thing to see. I mean, I know that's one of the things that I love about working with volunteers, is seeing the amazing things that they go on to achieve. And we have a question here, which is about that. It's, you know, they may go on to achieve amazing things outside of the school, but what about making sure that there are other people who are ready to teach others? Do you find that it's a challenge finding other people to teach in this industry, good teachers?
I will say our teaching is not that developed. In fact, this girl I'm telling you we really wanted her to come and be a lecturer, but the industry was very glamorous, so we couldn't keep her. But you find that probably there's some who express an interest. We're still to see them settle and come back to teach. They're more attracted to the industry.
Yeah.
So there's a dilemma there. There's a little bit of a challenge there. Yeah, we need to look more attractive. Maybe we need to pay better salaries for teachers to attract them to the teaching profession.
Very good. So we have a question here about how to share this message apart from by giving money. Well, that's a very good question, and it is, please, I am going to ask you for money, because money is essential. So please, even the smallest amount of money will make a difference and allow Sussy to continue her work at Tewa with more vigor and impact. But yes, I mean, I think this message is, a lot of these messages are quite universal. So do get involved in Wanda's work in trying to get involved in these discussions about making sure that the value of mentoring is recognized. I think sometimes it's seen as being a luxury rather than, you know, the essential part of education that it is. It's not enough ever for, you know, us just to simply leave young women with qualifications. We want young women who can change the world, who can lead in their lives. And I think many of us have been lucky enough to come from places where we found mentors very naturally. But for girls in places like Kilifi, when your own parents have very few resources, are very, you know, young. I would be a grandmother, I think, in Kilifi. You know, it's you know, the value of mentoring as something that happens very naturally, and that many of us take very much for granted, is very important. We have another question, which is, how can we help Tewa to reach more young women in Kilifi? Well, I mean, again, there's a financial component to this always. You know, getting the message out requires, you know, transport, it requires people, it requires long-term engagement because of the nature, I think, of some of the families. These are long-term conversations, they're not one-off visits. But, you know, I think one of the questions we had earlier today was from a woman, not actually in Kenya, in Nigeria, asking us how she could help women in her village to access opportunities. And I think there's a question there about helping people to reach people in their villages, in their shags, and to say to them, you know, this is an opportunity. Would you like, you know, how can we help you to get there? And I mean, do you have something that you would like to say, both of you, to that, of, you know, how people who've maybe done a little bit better professionally have left their villages and want to invest again in their villages, in young women from their local areas, what they could do about that? Lucy, do you have something you'd like to share?
What we do, we when we visit schools, for example, we take past students from those schools as ambassadors, so that they can speak to the other students, the peers. These peers listen to peers nowadays. They don't necessarily listen to grown-ups. So when you go with somebody who they can relate with easily, closely, because they were there, they were senior, they listen, and they are impacted, and they are attracted, they're inspired. And I would say that maybe if Tewa could use the same thing, they can ask some volunteer past students to help them to go around and be ambassadors, or be ambassadors wherever they are, for Tewa, yeah, to help transform Kilifi. I think it will make a difference. And the other thing they could also do is to use the women groups. You know, there are women groups locally, I think, in every locality. If you can do something for a women's group, and then maybe little by little convince those women to invest in their daughters, or to think about their daughters, maybe it will help, yeah, to move them to the next level. Those are just ideas that, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe Sussy has got some other, maybe even some experiences.
Sussy?
Yes. What she's saying is right. We need support. That's the truth. Because past students come sometimes, we invite them to come and talk to our girls after they have gone, and some of them work in good hotels. And when they come back, the others look at them and they feel, I can make it. They look like, you mean you can do this? So from there, you realize that the more they hear, the more they want to know, and the more they want to improve. And in fact, they come out of themselves and they can be able to do anything. In fact, when you demand in the training, they are ready to take it. After that, after every session, if you invite a past student and come to talk to them, they feel so good that they say, I must be like so and so. So they have, they focus, they start focusing, and they know there's a future. I'll be able to delay marriage in order to get better opportunities in future, and my family will be much better than what we are in now. So this is something that is very good, and I think we shall still continue trying to see how to get more girls get into the villages and convince them. Although as time goes by, the girls themselves, when they go back to the village, they are the ones who make Tewa known, and more girls come. So some have gone out. Okay, remember, Tewa has not been there for so long, but the impact it has done is already great. So we are hoping that in future, it will go even further and further and further, so that we transform Kilifi, especially the women.
And I think you've both given us great examples of how, you know, educating one girl in a school like Tewa can, you know, has an impact so much greater than just on her alone. And that's such an exciting thing. It's an exciting thing for me to be part of, and to be working with you. And that's why we love partnering with you at Wonder. So, and I hope those of you watching are also excited at the opportunity to get involved in any way that you can. Tewa, I've had a message from Tewa, from one of Sussy's colleagues saying, and ask them, you know, there are other ways to get involved. You know, there is so many contacts that could be useful. And, you know, if you know people working in the hotel, the hospitality industry, if you're working in the industry, and you would like to get in touch, think how you could work with Tewa, we would be delighted to hear from you. So I think we've run on a little bit longer than we were going to. So I'm going to thank you all for spending this time with us this evening. To thank our amazing speakers, who I always love speaking to and learn so much from. I don't know if you have any last words to share with us to inspire us this evening. Lucy?
Yes, it's very good to think that out there are people of goodwill who are willing to invest in Africa. I mean, it gives us great consolation. So we are very, very, very grateful that you found this opportunity, even just to come and listen. That's to show an interest. And even if you don't donate, I'm sure it has moved your heart. And we have somehow made a small lodging in your heart, and you will not forget us. And the day you find an opportunity that you can share with us, I'm sure you will do it. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Lucy. And Sussy?
I would like to say thank you very much for listening to us, and we are ready for any help, anytime, because this is going to be the most important thing we'll have done, having worked in Tewa for as long as we are there, because it is an eye-opener, and many people will not live in desperation anymore, especially if there are many well-wishers. But thank you for supporting us, and keep it up.
So, well, it's our pleasure to support you, and to give other people the opportunity to hear about your amazing work. So thank you everybody who's joined us this evening. If you have questions in the future, we'd love to hear from you. Please do think about giving us a little bit of money. It all will make a big difference in transforming lives. So thank you all, and good night.